Good morning, good afternoon, happy Friday. The market is insane, and as you can see, it's safe to say I left some profit on the table today. But we're going to walk through it all, how I caught what I did catch this morning, how I always know pretty much the best stock to be watching at market open. Whenever you have so many stocks moving, how do you know which one to focus on? So I'm going to walk through that all this morning. Everything I traded today, step by step, one by one. Really good day. Pretty much wrapped up in the first 45 minutes after market open today. It was a really good day, and I'm super happy with it. It's one of those things where I came in, had a big green day, and mentally I sort of just clocked out, and we're going to talk about that as well. So hopefully you guys had an awesome day today. The market is insane, the hottest market we have seen, and I would go as far as to say probably a year or more. This is insane. You've had a stock every single day this week, 700%, 500%, 1,000%. Today again, 800%. It's just like back-to-back black swan moves. Shorts are getting crushed. I don't even know what they're doing. It's just insane. It's an insane time right now. So let's go and break it all down. What we did today, how I did it. That way you can hopefully figure out how to do it too. All right, so into market open. Let me pull up the notepad here. All right, so into the bell, I was watching a few stocks here. I was watching, as you can see, Vero, JFBR, LCFY, and ROLR. And as you know, 3 of these were amazing movers today. How do you know what stocks to be watching, though? And as you know, we need trend, range, and volume, right? We need trend, range, volume, and typically a catalyst. Now, the reason why I was a little bit iffy with Vero today and why I didn't take as much size as I probably should have or gotten as aggressive as I should have on that is because it was the one gap for this morning that I saw no news on at the time in pre-market. I didn't see news over on, I know we had news with the Madrid Asset Management increased stake from yesterday afternoon, but of course, right, every time I look at the daily chart, every time this has made a move in the past, similar to this, it has given it back. And so I'm looking back at this day right here, where a very similar move happens, and it pretty much gaps straight up and then craps all day. And so I'm expecting something pretty similar today to happen, and so that's why over on this, I didn't have as much conviction as maybe I should have. You can't force conviction, though, so that's one thing. We had news on JFBR. We had news on LCFY, and so I'm like, all right, maybe those are the better suited stocks for the morning. Now this thing is just squeezing 12 bucks a share. I only played this down here in the 6s today, and it just keeps on going. Now, I still played this very well today, so I can't be too upset about this. I played it quite well. But let's go ahead and talk about it. So, of course, Vero this morning was one of our leading gappers back in pre-market. We saw we had this really thick consolidation here going up into market open. And so I was watching it for that continued break to the upside for possible opportunity because we had this pre-market high stacked here. So I'm using this as, of course, confluence for some little pivot trades, which you can see was actually respected very well. And so with those pullbacks out of that range off that high, I was able to play some nice dips on this on the 1-minute chart. Look at this here. So I've got some nice plays here. Like I said, I saw it break out here. We have this big leg out of that pre-market area of supply where we have this sort of level of support sitting right down here. And so as price breaks above and it pulls back, it confirms now it's no longer an area of supply. It's now an area of demand, right? Because as you know, those levels sort of flop as price again reclaims. So in this case here, simple little pullback off the 90 MA. And of course, this was the leading gapper this morning. You know how leading gappers have gone this week. So I wanted to have some meat in the play here. And so as this breaks out, it pulls back and I watch for buyers to step back in off the 90 MA. I take it there at 670. Not a super big fan of my entry there. I wish I was in a little bit lower to the 650s, but hey, it is what it is. I had to wait for confirmation first. So that being said, had an entry there in the 670s. Stop loss went down here at 645 at the bottom of this previous candle to ensure the price did continue to the upside. And it did. And as you can see here, I got to move from 670 all the way back up into the 730s. So about a 60-cent per share win. Super happy. Then I sort of scalped some pullbacks here off the 90 MA, and I'm trying to look for that continuation back to the upside, and I just really don't get it, unfortunately. Overall, though, still had some pretty nice profits on this. And then as you can see later as well, I had kind of a hard time where this consolidates. I'm looking for that continuation to the upside over that high of day. And so as you can see, it's basing here. Basing, I take this pullback to see if we couldn't rip up through highs. And again, we just get no rip through highs. I'm very small green on this trade here too. And so from then on, all right, well, this thing's kind of trading a little bit funky. I keep on trying to take breakouts, trying to get that quick extension higher. And you can see here, I'm just not really getting it. And I don't get the extension. I just take small profits on both because it hesitates. And so all of my profit comes from this range back here from about a 60 or really a 70-cent move when you look at the combined profit. So again, this whole move just sort of goes without me. But the reason why is, again, most of the profit from this morning didn't come from Vero. It actually came from JFBR, where the criteria that I look for, I've got 5 pieces of criteria where I need to have share price underneath 20 bucks. I need to have a float typically underneath 10 million shares. I'll trade something up to 20 million shares depending on price action. But up to 10 million shares, typically in a slower market like we have had. Of course, this week is not slow at all. Quite hot, quite the opposite. But also need to have high float rotation, high relative volume. And so overall in this year, we pretty much had those boxes checked off. And of course, it was in our top 5 leading gainers as well, which makes it one of the obvious stocks in the morning. And so, it pulls been able to take this quite well through this range, but that's really all I could do on this. I didn't find any conviction because the whole time I'm trying to trade this, I'm sitting here just worried of what I talked about a minute ago, where I have that previous daily action where it gaps up and then just craps all day. I'm worried, oh my God, what if this gaps up and then just like I get a halt down or I get so I just, I didn't really have conviction. So moving on to JFBR, this one was nice, and I did very, very well playing this one today on JFBR. I'm super, super happy with this. Now, going into the open, again, this was one of my top watches out of the bell because, well, we had a really good setup here. And what we had here formed was, of course, we had these lower highs going into market open. So now I know we've got this really tight wedge going up into the bell. Let's go ahead and mark this up here, where I have these higher lows and, of course, lower highs. We want to look for that break to the upside for confirmation. And there's one entry that I missed here today, and only one that I'm pretty mad about. Well, really two. There's two that I missed here. And I played it very well. I'm very happy with it, but I wish I could have capitalized a little bit more on some of these higher conviction entries that I had planned from pre-market. Now, the game plan here today initially was to take a pivot over these highs because this was a very tight wedge, and I didn't really know if I'd be able to get a play in this range. But we did. And so we have this high formed here where we break out, break, and we begin to knife off the highs in reverse. Then we have that rejection off this next high too. So we know this is an area of supply. And now I could have used this to my advantage and taken some amazing entries later in the morning, but I screwed up. And so I can definitely say I still find myself potentially trading a little bit more risk averse. But the market's also only been hot for 5 days now. The market was pretty slow the first half of January. And so with the market only being hot the last 5 days, I'm still sort of adjusting because you have to think October, November, December, we had these gap and crap setups that would gap up and just fake you out left and right. It was very hard to get anything going. And now it's the complete opposite. You can actually get pretty aggressive. So in any case, I'm playing well. I'm just not trading maybe as aggressive as I should be yet. Well, next week, we'll talk about that next time. But you get over here on this JFBR, and we come out of market open, very similar setup to the CJMB yesterday, where you come out of the bell, we have these higher lows defined, we pull back out of the open, and a big buyer steps in off this higher low, again, off trendline support. And so that's a really easy opportunity there, where we see buyers step in, stop loss goes at the bottom of this candle off that higher low. I mean, it doesn't get much easier, and I'm looking for the squeeze higher. And so I take it there at 120, stop loss goes at 115, 5 cents a share of risk, and I get a move here to 130. A 10-cent move. Again, pretty happy with that. About a 2-to-1 move. I'm looking for the squeeze higher. And eventually it does make that move. Of course, by then I was already out as this sort of rejects off the high. I take a full profit. I just sort of wait for the breakout. Now, the reason why I don't take it here is I've been buying up into pre-market supply. So you've got to wait, actually pivot, which is what I did out of the halt. And so this actually halts up right here, and I'm watching for a strong resumption to take a dip and rip because now I know that we have confluence here out of this pre-market area of supply. Well, it resumes in a pretty strong way up into the 160s. I take the pullback, risking off the resumption candle. And so right here, I take it at 160. Stop loss goes down here at 152 to see if we couldn't break up higher. And what did we do? We did higher. And overall, I was able to play it there from 160 up to about 180 on the play. So again, super happy with that. Played it really, really well. Trailing stop loss off the 1-minute candle low until eventually it was out for my profit when it did grab liquidity off the high here. Now, where I fumbled the bag a little bit is right over here. I fumbled the bag here. I know. That entry, no clue. I try to get a little bit too aggressive with small size. At this point in the morning, I was already up at a big green day, and so I was trading with about a quarter size. I gave a little bit back, and this is when I shut down because I was just like, what am I doing? This is just not happy with this resolution here. And so, I take the entry off the pullback there, and I really do get a good read. I'm seeing it sort of accumulate off these lows, and I'm wanting to see this really get ripping back up into the highs. And so I take the entry on the breakout there of that 1-minute, past 1-minute high, and I'm trying to add for the break higher, and I just don't get it. And it just flips back over on itself, and I take a small loss on this. So it's frustrating because my plan ended up working off this past low. It ended up going, and so that's frustrating. It really is frustrating. It continued to accumulate off the lows and made the move back to the upside like I was wanting to see. So that's frustrating as all get out. That would have added on some decent profit to the morning. So I left some money on the table there. But, hey, traded it very well here and, of course, back here. So I'm happy with that. Of course, the team crushed it today. The live stream was on fire. Over 450 of you in the stream this morning. So, oh my gosh, it was so much fun. That's the only thing that I can look back at today and be a little bit irritated with. But here's the thing, and what I sort of find myself doing now that the market is sort of heating back up is because of the last few hot or cold markets, from October to December, I find myself mentally shutting down a much, much sooner than I should be. And again, that's to be expected because the mind has to adjust. And again, as you build that consistency of follow through back up, again, that confidence comes back with it. And personally, I think we're on track to have another stretch of 3 or 4 hot months. That's typically how it goes: 3 months on, 3 months off. And so, anyways, my biggest stock of the day here today is JFBR, funny enough. But this is where I had conviction. And so I was able to trade it much better, able to take some good size. But it's that one thing right there. It's like I have that long lasting conviction because of how short lived the mornings have been through the winter and fall months. And I was trying to rebuild that confidence. But either way, still traded very well. What I will say, though, is if you are still on Thinkorswim, you couldn't trade this today. And so what I'll say is if you are still on Thinkorswim, please consider changing platforms. They are nuking themselves. Ever since Schwab took over, nuking themselves. Switch to Webull. Switch to a much better platform. Webull is the best commission-free platform out there. Switch to Webull. They're shooting themselves in the foot so bad. Get off Thinkorswim. Just do it. They have blocked the top stock to trade every single day this week. It's like, why would I be on a platform that blocks you from trading the stocks you want to trade? Okay, go on a tangent there anymore, but it just makes no sense. And so, anyways, JFBR was nice. This thing was good. LCFY, I tried to get something on. I really, really liked this thing today. I just couldn't really, I've got small profit on it. Smaller than I thought that I would have today. This thing looked fantastic today. It came out of market open with these higher lows. And I'm thinking this thing is going to just pull back, grab liquidity here out of market open, and just rocket back up into these highs. And it just never does. I did catch a trade on it, though. I did. I played it pretty well. I played back in pre-market off this pullback off of the 50 moving average. And as you can see, little scalps there. And I had the full profit as it began to hesitate. But I took it off of 583, got it back to 6, took a full profit. Over here as well at market open, grabs liquidity off the lows. I try to take it for the quick squeeze up into a halted open. I'm thinking that's what this thing's about to do. And I take it from 590 back to 6 again. And I just can't get anything going on this. It's like I'm so small green on it, but hey. I had conviction on it. I just didn't get the move, and I stepped away whenever I realized it was stuck in this range. Because it gets stuck in this range after the open, it's just nasty from there. So, Vero, man, what do you do? I've got some good profits on this today. Today was a beautiful day. Overall, extremely happy with the morning. I can't be upset because it's the biggest green day of the week. Able to really take some size on what I did trade today and do quite well. So, all that being said, the market is still very, very hot. It just keeps on getting hotter and hotter, it seems, as the days go on. I think next week is going to be even crazier. Keep in mind the market is closed Monday, so don't look for a recap video on Monday, but make sure you do join the 7-day free trial. That way you can take the whole long weekend to go through the intro course, learn trading basics, how to use momentum, all the different tools we have. That way you have a full weekend to get prepared for whenever we come in on Tuesday, and you can really take advantage. So that is what I would do. That way you get a full week next week to trade with us, and you get all the tools and the courses and everything prepared for next week as well. A lot to look forward to next week. But the big thing is just keep on trading those obvious setups, trade the stocks that meet your stock selection criteria, leave everything else in the dust. Keep your head on a swivel. Don't just focus on the one stock. Like this morning, for example, I was over here trading JFBR, Vero, both of them hand in hand as being the best setups for the day. So that is how I did today. Hopefully you had an awesome day out there as well, and hopefully you learned a thing or two from this video here as well. As always, make sure to subscribe for daily content just like this. I will see you in that 7-day free trial for another amazing week next week. Of course, where you can trade alongside me in real time every single day and get alerts, education, watch list, chat room access, scanners, news, journals, momentum AI, and so much more. And I'll catch you back next week for an amazing week ahead. Have an awesome, safe, responsible weekend. Get some rest. I'll see you back next week.